rest of the world, and let us know in the chat. We'll start in about 3 minutes. Yeah. And you can, of course, tell us your name as well, maybe what you do. Oh, all right. I see people joining in from Accra, Ghana. Awesome. Nice to have you, Bright. And nice to have you, Hawak, as well. We'll be starting shortly. Let's just give some 3 minutes for other folks to join in quickly.
Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know where we are actually joining from. I know we have different people on this call. I can see Bright is from Accra, that's Ghana. I can see Wakili is from Kano, Nigeria. Good morning everyone. And I hope we're all doing great today. So in the next couple of minutes we'll be starting, but for now we would try to make sure that we wait for everyone to join us. It's so nice to see everyone on this call today. Welcome. All right. I can see Abdul Malik is joining from Nigeria. Oh, that's nice. Welcome. We have Blossom. Welcome, Blossom. So in the next 2 minutes, we'll just kick off and start if we have enough people on the call. But for now, I think we have 52. All right. I think we have enough people on the call. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kausar Moshud, and I'm a researcher at LyngualLabs here. We also have other researchers too. We have Victor Olufemi, we have Orelu Ababatule, we have Botemi. But for now, we'll just like take things slow. And I would like to have Victor. So Victor, can you unmute yourself so we can just start?
All right. Hi, Kausa. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone, once again. Welcome to, another episode of today's webinar. And I don't know, Kausa, would you like me to go ahead with the, housekeeping rules and start the introduction, basically?
Yes, I think we can just go with the introduction and just get started.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to the webinar. And once again, we have found the fundamentals of AI research writing. And we've started this webinar, last week, and that's where we started the first week with one, where we talked about, introduction to research in AI, machine learning, NLP, and low resource. It's one of, four series, four sessions. And basically, we're moving on with day 2 today, which of course is, literature review and research methodologies. And we have, an amazing speaker, just like, the one we had last week. And I'm sure you'd really enjoy the session. Of course, the chat is always available. You might not have access to the camera and the microphones right now. I'm going to give you access to that very soon. But yes, you should have access to the chat if you want to point out some things. There are also people available in the chat from the team, so you can, if you have difficulties, you can also as well, reach out in the chat. Okay, the agenda is quite simple. We have, the main speaker session. We also have a Q&A, and as promised, we will try to extend the breakout session to last, longer, and this time about 20 minutes, so you can have time to interact with other people on the call, get to know what they are doing, get to know how you could, potentially connect with them and, make something out of the networking sessions, basically. All right, so for the housekeeping rules, as mentioned, the webinars are going to hold every Saturday in May, and of course, attendance is tracked as well. So if you want to, get a certificate out of this webinar, just try your best to attend at least 3 times in the session. So if you were not around last week, so you want to, try to be around, for this week and, subsequently, the remaining 2 sessions as well. Yes, I would also encourage you, why it's not compulsory, but you should use your real name while joining. It helps people to get to know you, to spot you, and definitely as well, attendance. You should also, I would encourage you to use your real name for that. There's a form that will be shared during the call sessions. Of course, it will be announced as well. So, you could just do well to fill out that form, which of course will count as your attendance, during the session or after the session. Okay. I don't know if you are still with us, Kausa. I think we'd be having the session introduction now. We have an amazing speaker, by the way, and I don't know if if I should go ahead to, review who the speaker is, but I'm sure many of you have already seen the speaker, right? So, Kausa, are you still with us? Or if you're having difficulties, I'm able to go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's you. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, very audible.
All right, great. Okay. All right, so for today's section, we'll be having Toluwani Aremo. Toluwani will be taking us through literature review and research methodologies. So what's Toluwani? So Toluwani is actually a passionate learner and dedicated researcher. Currently, he's a PhD student at Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, that is MBUZ AI, and he specializes in advancing the field of artificial intelligence Toluani combines a robust skill set spanning both research and industry to focus on building safe and trustworthy generative AI system. Currently, he is exploring watermarking techniques in large language models and the alignment of challenges that emerge with their use. Additionally, Toluwani is deeply interested in studying the social impact of deployed AI system, ensuring that the technology serves the broader community in an ethical and responsible way. His work bridges technical innovation with real-world implications, and also he is aiming to create a UI, an AI that is not only advanced but also beneficial and aligned with human values. Let's welcome Toluani to today's section. So Toluani will be taking us through the literature review and research methodology. Hi Toluani, can you hear me clearly?
Oh yeah, sure.
Awesome. Welcome. It's so nice to
Thank you
have
very
you
much.
on this call.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm
Yeah.
welcome.
So
Should I start?
yes, you can go
Yeah,
ahead.
Okay,
all
all right.
right.
So thank you very much for the warm welcome, Victor and Kausa and Ore for inviting me. I will just go ahead and share my screen and let me know if you can see my screen. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yep, it's
Okay, great.
very good.
Okay. So hello everyone, my name is Toluwani and I will be presenting I will be doing the talk on literature review and research methodologies. Um, and well, I've been introduced already, so I don't need to further introduce myself. But once again, thank you guys for the welcome. So the overview of today's talk. So I will break it down in two parts. The part one will be how to read and understand research papers, such that you don't waste your time in reading papers. And then the part two will be how to conduct a literature review, where we'll talk about how you organize papers, synthesize your insights, you find gaps and questions, and then you can start your research. And I would also have some interactive elements. For example, we are going to be analyzing a real abstract. We'll be breaking down a paper example, and then I would show you guys how to actually make use of AI to, fast track your literature review process. So I like a kind of interactive system where I would ask some questions when I'm presenting, and I prefer that you answer. But because you only have access to the chat, please direct your answers to the chat, and I'll be glad if you guys actually answer. So let's start from part one, reading and understanding research papers. So my first question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you feel in reading research papers in AI, and why that number? Just give me a number. Just go to the chat, give me a number and the reason. For example, you can just put 3, too much technicality. So, oh wow, 10, Howard. That's good. Nice. Okay, on the average, I can see this is about 5, uh, with some people having more than 10 and some people below 5. So let me just say, okay, Femi said, it is too much jargon that I find sometimes hard to understand. Okay, I hope we're able to change that today. All right, let's continue. So I have a second question. So when you pick up a research paper, what do you first look at? Is it the abstract? Is it the figures? Is it the methodology? What exactly do you first look at? Also in the chat box. Okay, seems like everyone looks at the abstract first. All right, thank you for the interaction. Please keep this up. So okay, let's go into the main paper. Also, let me just give you a quick heads up. I like using some images, some very funny images that just describes, how people relate to that particular the content of that particular slide. So just make sure you don't get distracted by the image. Now let's go into the key sections of a research paper. The first part you look at. Me personally, I prefer looking at the title, because if the title does not even match with anything that I'm interested in, I won't bother to go to the abstract. But you can actually combine the title and the abstract, in 5 to 10 seconds, go through it, and what if the paper is relevant or not. Okay, so now the title and abstract summarizes the study's purpose, methods, and main findings, and then if this paper is relevant, and then from there you can go to. So these are basically the key sections of a research paper, right? You go to the introduction, where the authors try to tell you more about the background and what is already known, and then tries to draw a link from that background to the gap or problem they're trying to solve, and how they're going to solve it, or whatever they're going to contribute to that particular knowledge. And then from there, they go to the methodology. You go to the methodology that shows how the research was conducted, and they provide enough details so that you can replicate the study. This is mostly the part everyone hates. And then we have the results that shows the factual findings, often with figures and tables. It shows what was discovered, what they found during the experiment, without interpretation. And then you have the discussion that actually interprets those results, the implications, and how it ties back to the problem. And then the conclusion gives you the possible further research that you can work on. So now that I've gone through that in as quickly as I could, which section do you guys find the most challenging to understand? Can you use the chat, please? I think we're all going to choose the methodology in this part. Okay. Interpretations of results. Okay. Research topic. Methodology. Yeah, a lot of people find it challenging to understand the methodology, and yeah, I could say the same thing, because a lot of authors try to put as much information as possible in the methodology, such that they stop thinking about writing in a human-centric way, and then they just want to please the reviewers or something like that. Okay, so now I will tell you the strategy to read efficiently, such that you don't waste the time in reading the paper. And that way you would be able to understand the methodology faster, more efficiently than you currently are able to. So the first thing you need to do when you start reading is to have a purpose, or before you start reading is to have a purpose in mind. Don't just take a paper and start reading for reading's sake. You don't do that. Know the reason why you're reading that. Why exactly? Ask yourself that question. Why are you reading that paper? Then when you're sure that, okay, this paper, I have to read it, skim it first before you start reading in depth. So you have like 5 minutes, approximately 5 minutes, to skim through the paper. Just look at the title, the abstract, the introduction, the headings, and the conclusion. Don't go into the method first. If you go into the method, you're already overwhelming yourself, and then you'll be like, okay, this paper is not good enough. Don't do that. Go through the title, the abstract, the introduction, and the conclusion first. Identify the problem, the approach, and the main results. If it looks relevant, then you can now proceed into doing a multi-pass approach. The multi-pass is when you use the second pass to actually look at the results very well before you start reading paper in detail on the third pass. On the third pass. And when you're reading, try to take notes and summarize. Don't just read and then you go to another paper to read. No, try to jot down the paper's claim, method, and results. And as this is going to help you with your retention and makes it easier to recall later. And like I said, don't get stuck on details initially. If you take a paper, don't go and look at the method. If you see a lot of mathematical derivations and stuff, like me, I will drop the paper. So don't do that first. Don't do that to yourself. First, check the human-centric part of writing, which is basically the topic, how simple and clear the topic is. Can you understand the abstract? Does the introduction make sense? The results, are they presented in an understandable way? And then the conclusion before you go into the method. Now let's go into how you can assess the quality of a paper. Millions of papers are actually out there every day, and I compared to the 1980s where you hardly find 5 papers a month. Now almost every single day you go on archive and you've seen that they are like 30,000 preprints dropping every single day on archive. So you need to assess the quality of the paper you're trying to read before before you dedicate time to reading it. So how do you assess the quality of a paper? The first thing you need to do is to check if it is peer reviewed or not. If it is peer reviewed, check or cross check the level of the conference or journal. For example, if the paper was published in a reputable journal or conference, then you're good enough to actually read it. If you don't find any conference or the conference is of low quality, I'm not saying you shouldn't read it, but be curious, try to ask some questions. Is it good enough? Is this paper original? That kind of thing. And after that, look at the citations and influence. So citation is a way to judge how influential a paper is. Look at how often the paper is cited by others, and don't judge by, okay, this paper is just cited, is more cited than the other paper. If a paper is cited if a paper was published in 2012, it is different from a paper that's published in 2024. So you have to be able to, so there's some sort of time relativity when it comes to this kind of thing. So a paper that is cited that was published in 2012 would have more citations normally. So a feature you can use, especially when you're using Google Scholar, is you can click on that particular paper and you will see the number of citations that paper has per year. If the number of citations is growing, you know that the quality of this paper has a lot of quality and it's still relevant till date. But if you're saying that the number of citations is slowly, or let me just say it is decreasing at an exponential rate, then you should know that the quality of the paper or the influence of the paper is slowly dying. So you need to update the kind of paper you're going to read as to that regards. Also check the methodology. So when you're doing your third pass, your third pass, like I said earlier, check the methodology, look at the theoretical analysis, try to know if it is solid or not. For example, if you're reading, let's say, a paper that is much more theoretical than experimental, you try to check if the theoretical analysis is good, and if it is much more experimental than theoretical, empirical than theoretical, check if the proposed algorithm is compared to strong baselines in the same domain, and check if the data set is appropriate, check if the methodology makes sense, check if the way they designed the whole experiment actually makes sense before you read. And then check if it is good for you to check if the data or code is available. If you cannot reproduce the results, then you shouldn't even try to. Pure science is when you have something that is reproducible. Anything that's not reproducible, uh, anything that's not reproducible does not indicate transparency. So, I mean, I've seen some papers where the authors of the paper would be like, "Yes, it works in my machine, but it does not work in my own machine." You understand? So you need to check if the data is available and if the code is available so you can reproduce the results. If you're going into a research without knowing the baseline or without knowing if the code is working, you might be competing with a baseline that is actually false in nature. So ensure to check if the data and code are available. Also try to verify the author and source and the affiliations. So for example, you can, once you see a paper, check the institutions, maybe the labs, the university these other authors are coming from. Sometimes these might actually show consistency. For example, papers put out by Meta, by companies like Meta, like OpenAI, you know that these papers are actually, they have more quality because they have the compute and they have the data and then they have the code and everything. So try to check for the author and source credibility before you commit your time into reading that paper. And the final thing you should also do here is try to check for the objective tone of the paper. A quality paper would discuss limitations and wouldn't make grand claims without evidence. When you start reading a paper and then you see we are the first to do this, and you've actually read another paper that does the same thing, that then you know that this paper has a lot of objective tone, which was not toned down. They were using a lot of overhyped language, so you have to be just put that paper at arm's length. Go and check other papers first before you come back to this paper. Okay, so now let's go into an activity. So this abstract that you're seeing here was gotten from the very popular paper behind all of the generative AI models you're seeing today. Attention is all you need. So read this particular abstract and tell me what the literature review is, the problem gap, the method they proposed, and the result is. So basically, you just tell me what is in the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the last paragraph. Also, put your answers in the chat box, in the chat, sorry. So I'm going to wait for like 30 seconds to see. All right, let's continue. So in this particular abstract, attention is all you need basically introduces a method called transformers. So when you read this abstract, you see that in the first part of the abstract, you can see the problem gap. They mentioned the problem they're trying to solve, and then they went into the method and approach, and then they showed the result. This is an abstract. So if you're actually working on this domain, you're trying to, let's say you're also trying to propose a method just like they did on the same domain, you already know that this particular paper is a good read and you can add it to your collection. Now we've come to the end of part one. Let's go into part two, conducting a literature review. So what is a literature review and why do one? A literature review is a comprehensive survey of publications on a specific topic. What's the purpose of doing a literature review? You need to understand the field you're trying to work on, and by understanding the field you're working on, you want to work on, you can easily find the gap, the unanswered questions, and the problems that have not been addressed yet. And examples of this kind of literature review: when you pick up a paper, you see related work or you see background. That is an example of a literature review. And there are also standalone papers which are called surveys or review articles that summarizes progress in a subfield. Sometimes you don't see them as surveys, you see them as systematization of knowledge. And then you have thesis chapters that basically chapter 2 giving you an overview of all the relevant literature. Let's go into the steps to conduct a literature review. The first step is define your scope and research question. When you're about to start conducting, a literature review, the first thing you need to know is the first thing you need to do is to define your scope. Set the boundaries of what you are about to do. Be clear on the topic or the problem you're investigating. Don't be too wide and don't be too narrow. So make sure you define your scope and the specific question you're trying to answer. This will keep your search manageable. And then after you do that, you search for the literature. So how do you search for the literature? We have a lot of academic databases and search engines you can use to search to find papers. We have Google Scholar, we have Semantic Scholar, which is my personal favorite. We have IEEE Explore, we have ACL Anthology. There are lots of search engines you can use. So basically, you start with the keywords related to your topic. For example, if you're interested in NLP, that is too wide. You have to narrow it down. So let's say you're interested in code switching, maybe Yoruba language code switching. So you know that your keyword is going to be code switch and Yoruba language. So in this particular situation, you look for every paper that's worked on code switching. So when you see when you use the keyword code switching, you're able to cast your a wide net around code switch papers. You gather all of this literature, and then you can now start narrowing them down to Yoruba if you find any. And then after you do that, you start screening and selecting. So let's say you've actually gathered all the papers on code switching, but the one you're looking for basically is the one targeting a particular language. You start looking at the introduction, and you start looking at the title and the abstract for you to screen and select the papers that are relevant to you. And make sure, remember, prioritize the peer-reviewed ones and the highly cited ones for core reading. Then try to organize the paper. So you have to group the literature in a meaningful way. For example, use themes, methodology, chronology. That way you can easily know which paper is solving which, or which paper is using which method. That's your best way. Currently they call them reference managers that you can use, or you can actually create your own personal spreadsheet, just like me. I like using spreadsheet, but you can use a reference manager. So as you're adding papers to the reference manager, it actually helps you group it. And when you start reading those papers, remember to always take notes. As you're reading those papers in detail, write a short summary about that particular paper. And if you find two papers that have connections, group them together too. And note any gap each paper mentions in the discussion. And when you do that, try to synthesize all of this information you are gathering from each paper. For example, if you look at the screen, you can see several studies address X using method A, while more recent work uses method B and reports Y. So that way you can synthesize the information you get from paper A and paper B, and you can bring them together, and that would help you even narrow the gap further for you to have a particular research question. So so basically with this synthesization, you can conclude your review by summarizing major insights, and then that summarization points out the main question you need to tackle. And one other thing you need to do is to cite as you go. As long as you find a paper that is relevant to you and you've kept it in your reference manager, remember to always keep the citations for these papers, so that you don't cite the wrong paper or irrelevant papers. Now, when you're using a reference manager, or let's say you're actually gathering the papers yourself, has it ever happened to someone where let's say you downloaded 50 PDFs, and all the PDFs basically had the same name, and then you don't actually know which PDF belongs to which paper? I mean, it has happened to me before. Just say yes or no in the chat. It has happened to me before. I didn't even have. It's not even about the same name in this point. It was much more about downloading papers from archive, and archive does not save these downloads with the title of the paper. It saves it with the code of that particular paper. So you need to organize. If so, this kind of thing happens when you skip the organization step. So as if happened to anyone before. Obina will just cry. Yeah. So basically, when you do this kind of thing, and then you see like 50 different paper ones, or 50 different PDFs with just code without the title, and you don't actually know how to reorganize them again. Yeah, this kind of thing can happen. You just get confused, and then you get overwhelmed, and then you just stop basically. Well, it has happened to me before. So now let's go into organizing and categorizing your sources. So when you're doing this, you have to group it by themes or categories. The screenshot you're seeing on the left is for my present research. So I had to like gather about 90 different sources. And because I didn't want to download them, because I actually had experience with downloading from archive or something like that, I only got the link to the PDFs. So that way I know that this link is for this particular title, and I was able to group them by themes or categories. So when you look at the type, let me see if I can use pointer. Okay. easily. All right. So when you look at this type, you can see SOK, which is systematization of knowledge. It points out the papers or the resources that are much more about surveys. And when you see tools, it's much more like a repository for you to easily code the research you're working on. And when you see method, it describes a new method. So you have to group the papers you're reading by themes or categories. Use a literature matrix of which you ensure that each row in that particular each row contains a different paper, and each column contains the themes. You can make use of a reference management tool because those ones for those ones it's easier for you to keep track, and it's easier for you to cite. And make sure you keep detailed notes for each of these things. So on a for example, try to just put the summary of whatever you read, of whatever you discovered when you were reading that particular paper. So keep detailed notes and try to avoid information overload. So don't read too wide and don't read too narrow. Just read just about enough. So when you're trying to synthesize insights from multiple papers, um, these are the things you have to do. You have to compare and contrast. So when you're reading multiple papers, you want to know which one is good enough for your work. You want to know the information each of these paper trying to like pass. You have to compare these papers and you have to contrast them. So when you read them, you can only do this by noting down whatever you read from each paper. So when you note them down, you are able to find out two papers that might be, leading to the same conclusion, or might be visualizing the same information. So you're able to compare, you're able to contrast. Then you're also able to find patterns and trend. You'll be able to identify gaps through synthesis. And then when you use thematic paragraphs, this also makes you or it makes it easier for you to gather papers under a particular theme. Try to visualize, if that would help you synthesize insights. Try to visualize them, make use of diagrams just to show, um, and then do some critical analysis, and then you can now write the summary of the state of the art, those ones that you feel like, okay, this would be much more relevant to my work than any other one. So end with the summary of the state of the art. Now, these ones, or whatever I'm trying to say now, these ways or this method is when you're actually doing your literature review manually. Thankfully, today we have AI tools to actually help you manage that, and we're going to get into that later. I will show you a live presentation of how to use all of these tools. So now let's go into identifying gaps in the literature. So when you're trying to identify gaps in the literature, what are you looking for? You're looking for unanswered questions, number one. Number two, you're looking for overlooked populations or data sets. For example, so in responsible AI, we have this concept where we talk about inclusivity. So you need to check the literature for overlooked populations or data sets. For example, let's say speech to text. A lot of speech to text models focus on just the English language. You have to find maybe there are other languages that have not been done. For example, we know that, okay, thankfully they are coming up with other languages, with low resource languages. So it might be your own contribution to knowledge to start looking at newer populations or data sets. And then when you're identifying gaps in the literature, try to look for inconsistencies or conflicting results. When you see this, you can now put an end to that particular debate. For example, paper A says this, paper B says this. I think let me just give you a real world example of that. So they were trying to find out which of the models perform the best on a particular benchmark data set. And the first set of authors claimed that GPT-4 was better, and the second author said Claude was better in this particular case. Your own research is to actually put an end to that particular debate by maybe creating a new benchmark, and then you run your evaluation on this. Another gap you can identify in the literature is an emerging field of technology or the scope of prior work. So basically, gap is when you find a gap, it means you need to carry out a research in that particular domain. Now let's narrow everything from gaps to research question. So when you find a gap, what's the next thing you do? You narrow that gap into a question. A gap is still like a broad area that has not been studied. So you need to refine it to a particular research question which you can address. For example, no one has tested on non-English test. So question, how effective is Model X on Chinese language datasets compared to English? This is an example of how to narrow a gap into a question. Make sure that whatever you are doing or whatever you're reading, whatever gap you're seeing, you're coming across is researchable. For example, you cannot say, okay, I want to solve what problem or what word hunger with AI. That's not possible. Try to make sure your question is much more focused. For example, how can you use reinforcement learning to optimize food distribution? That is a good question that you can answer. Then incorporate the gap context. Make sure your question reflects the gap that you've identified. You can't say this was the gap and then your question is something else. Both of them must be pointing to the same direction. For example, if the gap was an underexplored or unexplored condition, the question should target that particular condition. And the characteristics of a good research question is, number one, it must be novel. If it has not been answered by prior work, it's a gap. A good research question must be specific. It must not be vague. It must not be too broad, and it must not be too narrow. It must be specific. It must be significant. For example, if you're answering a particular research question, you should also answer the question, why is this significant? Is this going to be deployed? Is this solving a problem? You have to answer that question too. And it must be manageable. When you have a research question that is too broad in nature, how can you address it with your resources? So you need to be able to find a good research question that is manageable. You can address it with the resources that you have at that present moment. And your research question must align with the methodology. You can't say you can't say your research question is to evaluate model X on benchmark Y, and then you are proposing a method. No. You have to align your research question with the methodology and try to iterate. So if the gap is too wide, you need to iterate more for you to narrow the gap. And if the gap is too narrow, you need to read more to in the gap a bit. So by the end of your literature review, you should be able to say, or you should be able to present, given the gap that our research question is. So you should be able to present this particular kind of question. Now, let's go into the useful AI tools to help with your literature. So for this, I'm going to be showing you some tools that I currently use personally. To do my literature review. So I'm going to start with Semantic Scholar. Like I said, I prefer Semantic Scholar to Google Scholar. And sorry, can you see my screen? Is the text too small or is it too big? Okay. So we can go ahead. So I prefer Semantic Scholar to Google Scholar. So let's say I'm looking for my research is in the domain of, let's say, code switching, for example. If I come here and I type code switching, sorry.
Hi, Toluani. Sorry to cut you. We can't really see your screen. I think the text is quite small.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for telling me that. Let me just increase that. Is it good now?
Yes, I think it's much better. Yes, yes, very good.
Oh, great. So beautiful. Now let's continue. So let's say I'm looking for code switching, papers on code switching. Okay. So Semantic Scholar would show you some of the, or let me just say every single paper that's been published that makes use of the keyword code switching. Now it is for you to go ahead, and thankfully, one other thing that Semantic Scholar provides you with is a TLDL, too long didn't read, a summary of the abstract. So, or a summary of the whole paper. So for example, when you click on this, you're going to see a TLDL, which is here. So you're able to know if this is the kind of paper you want to read or not. And if this is the kind of paper you want to read, you can click on it. And once you click on it, you can see the new papers that are citing that particular paper, and at the same time you can also check the references for you to actually find other papers within the same domain. Now another good feature of Semantic Scholar is, let's say, okay, let me just go into one of my papers. Okay, so let's say you're reading a paper now. Is the problem of you having to go through different Google Scholar pages for you to find a paper, or when you're reading a paper you have to leave the paper, or you have to download the paper before you go to another paper. That problem is solved in Semantic Reader, so, or in Semantic Scholar. So when you are reading a paper, you can actually read a paper in Semantic Scholar. You can group your papers. It can also be your reference manager. So let's say you're reading a paper, for example, and you found a particular reference that you're interested in. Instead of going down, for example, or instead of searching for the reference somewhere else, you can just click on the reference, and it shows you the exact reference that you're clicking on. It shows you the title, it shows you the TLDR. So that way you are not wasting your time having to go to another page to download another paper and then to start reading. You already know the paper. You already know from here that, okay, this paper too is going to be good or bad for me. Now, I will go into another one. Sorry, let me go back. Okay, so now I will go into another tool and show you how to use another tool. So we're done with Semantic Scholar now. So let's say you want an extra, let's call it a mind map. You want a mind map of literature in that your particular domain. What do? You can come here, you can copy the title of this particular paper, and you can go to connectedpapers.com. Connectedpapers.com. Let me increase this. Is this good enough for everyone? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so connectedpapers.com. So you can actually see
Yes.
different papers. So you can see a mind map of different papers in a visual graph. So let's look for this paper. You find this paper here. Once you click on it, it shows you a mind map of every related paper. That way, you don't have to start looking for papers again, just like you do on Google Scholar, and then you start downloading and everything. You can also do the same. You can do the same thing you're doing on Semantic Scholar. You can do it here, but in a visual manner. So, in what way? This is the paper you're looking for. It has drawn a mind map to every other connected paper. So within that paper, within this particular page, you can look at at the other papers. For example, an image is what, so you can click on it and then you read the abstract. You know if this is good enough for you to download or not. If this is going to contribute to your literature review or to your literature when you finally start asking the questions or not. Yeah, so you can click on different ones and then you'll be able to see the mind map. And then this mind map is labeled, so the darker they are, the more, the closer they are to, you, to the current paper, like in terms of similarity. The closer they are in similarity, the more recent they are. So it has to be, for example, when you look at this 2017, it's good enough, but it was in 2017. So if you're looking for more recent papers, you can see the dark colors and everything. So this is another tool I use whenever I'm trying to gather as much literature as possible. And the third one I use is Notebook LM. Uh, I don't. Have you heard of? Has anyone heard of Notebook LM before? Just one person. Two, three, four, five. Okay, a lot of people have heard of Notebook LM. Basically, what do I do with Notebook LM? Let's say I have about 60 different PDFs. Let's say I've narrowed down my work to 60 different PDFs, and I want to start reading, but I don't have time to start reading 60 PDFs one after the other. I create. So basically, I add all of this into. Okay, let me just do that. Let's just download like two papers, and from there we can to come in. Okay, so now we've downloaded the two papers. So just to show you how it works, let's upload. Okay, so this is just an example. You can do this with so much more. You can upload as many papers as you want, and when you are about to start reading, all you just need to do is to ask the question, what is, okay, let me increase this. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, let's continue. So you have these two papers, and you want to read all these papers, but without having to go through the papers yourself. You can just tell Notebook LM to help you, reduce the scope of the basically summarize what the paper, or what questions you're trying to answer. Okay, so let's ask the question: what questions are both papers trying to answer? And you ask it. So what Notebook LM does is to go through the papers with respect to your question. It gives you the answer. The first paper investigates the relationship between social biases in LLMs. The second paper focuses on how assigning. So this way, you're able to go through your literature review process as fast as possible. So whatever I was presenting for the past 45 minutes is much more manual in nature compared to this. So when I was using a manual method, collecting my own PDFs and reading one after the other, it could take me, let's say, it could take me months to actually synthesize all of my findings from this literature review, compared to now when I can actually do whatever I'm doing in months, basically in days. So you can use this one to just to narrow down the timeline you need for or to conduct a literature review. And if you want to actually personally, if you want to be updated about literature in your domain, one very good tool you can use is called Scholar Inbox, also by the people that created Semantic Scholar. So Scholar Inbox basically maps whatever you're interested in. So it bootstraps it, and then it starts giving you daily updates about papers that have been published in your domain. So every single day, for example, I get at least one paper that is relevant to whatever I'm interested in. And then I can keep track of that paper, read it, add it to my semantic scholar reads, and try to create a mind map for that from that paper as usual. So this also helps a lot. Now let's go back to the presentation. So now let's go into the practical tips and suggested workflow. So when you're doing a literature review, you have to start broad and then narrow it down from there. Start using the reference manager early. Don't be like, now that AI is actually automating a lot of things you normally would do manually. I think the best thing you can do is to make use of this and become much more productive. So use a reference manager as early as possible. Keep a research journal, which basically is still the same thing as a reference manager. Thankfully, like I said, semantic scholar can be used for your reference management. There are other tools like Zotero, Mendeley that you can use. Also, make use of a mind map or a concept map. I have already given you one mind map that you can use, connected papers. For any kind of paper you're looking for, there's always a map for any paper. Take that particular paper, paste it in connected papers, and you're going to find the mind map for it. So make use of a mind map or a concept map. Stay updated. If you want to stay updated, I already gave you the tool for that too. It is scholarinbox.com. If you want to stay updated, because every single day 30,000 papers are uploaded on archive at least. So you want to stay updated. Scholar Inbox is the tool for you. Just give it the keywords you're looking for, and it uses an AI algorithm. It trains an AI algorithm based on your selected interest, and then it only gives you, based on a rank of your selected interest, it suggests the new paper to read for that day. And try to at least read one paper a day. That would keep you updated. And while you're reading, write as you go. Try to write as you go. And then peer discussion is encouraged. So if you're reading, let's say you're coming to any kind of a roadblock, something you don't understand, you can always engage in peer discussion. This is very good because they can also broaden the scope of whatever you know at the moment. It's good to broaden that. Now, you should also cite properly. Don't just cite any kind of papers. Reviewers now actually look at citations. So cite properly, revise, and get feedback from people. Your advisor, you have your supervisor, you have your friends, basically your colleagues who can actually give you feedbacks on whatever you've done, and leverage tools but remain critical. Most of the tools I gave to you, well, except for even for semantic scholar, most of these tools make use of AI and generative AI. And one problem with generative AI these days is what? They still hallucinate. So you need to verify whatever these tools are actually giving you to. So remain critical about whatever they're giving you and know when to stop. Don't overwhelm yourself with millions of papers. Know when to stop. Uh when I was doing my master's in UI, I had this professor who told us a way to know when to stop. And the method was, when you read so much that you start seeing the citations of papers you've read before, then you should know that, okay, this is the time for you to stop. And so, conclusion: conducting a literature review in AI or any field is about reading smart and connecting dots between studies. So basically, you have to read strategically and critically. Don't overwhelm yourself with all the details, all the information. Try to just start with the title and the abstract. Make use of AI tools to narrow, to keep the timeline for you to understand what is going on in a particular paper. Use AI tools and all of that. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer. And while you're dropping the questions, I'm a PhD candidate at MBZUI. We have full tuition fee scholarship. So if you're interested in applying, reach out to me or click on the link to get more information. Thank you.
So All right. Thank you so much for that wonderful session once again, Tuluani. It's always, it's always amazing having, conversations around AI with you and, getting to now talk about research as well. So I mean, please, you can do, you can give a round of applause if you want to clap, you can just share some excitement there. And yeah, if you have questions as well, please feel free to drop them in the chat so that we can have, the Q&A sessions right now. Okay, so someone is asking, so Luani, okay, that some of the tools you mentioned, you gave us quite a number of tools. I found them really insightful, by the way. From Notebook LM to Semantic Scholar, and even that connected papers is something I've personally not even used before. So someone is asking, are these tools, are they free? Or the subscription package, how is it? So should they go check them out, or maybe they
So
can get access?
for those tools I gave, everything is free. Um, Semantic Scholar does not have any. I've never heard of any pro package for Semantic Scholar. Notebook LM is free. Everything is free so far. I've never seen, or they've never suggested me paying any amount of money for anything. So yeah, go ahead and use it. And aside from these four tools I actually gave out, you can also make use of these normal tools like Gemini. There's ChatGPT, there's Claude. All of these tools, you can use the free version to actually do the same thing that most of these tools actually do. But for literature review, for to carry out your literature review in a faster manner, these four tools I gave you are good enough, free of charge. So go for it.
All right, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I mean, the tools are free. Please feel free to take advantage of them. There's someone asking again. I think this is from. I'm not sure I can pronounce that name. Kosisochukwu. I hope I didn't butcher your name. But the person is asking how to do referencing, basically. So, when you want to cite a paper, how do you go about that?
Okay, that's also beautiful. That's a beautiful question. Number one, most of these, so it depends on, so let's say you're trying to submit to a conference. Most of these conferences make use of latex packages where you have to you need the bib file or something like that. So most of these tools, for example, Semantic Scholar, you can actually cite from, okay, I think this there needs to be, I need to share my screen again. So, okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, yeah. Your screen's
Okay.
live.
So great. So when you're using all of these referencing managers like Zotero and Mendeley basically does the citation straightforward for you. Like you don't need to do any other thing. Just copy your citations from them. They will give you the citation. But when you're using tools like Semantic Scholar, there's a there's this feature there. If you want to cite a particular paper, you click on cite and it gives you what you need. MLA. This same tool is on Google Scholar, by the way. So it gives you whatever you need whatever you need for the citation. So for people who use latex, most of us actually make use of a bib text. So this is what we copy, basically. And let's say you don't want to use Semantic Scholar or something like that. Another thing you can do is copy the link from Semantic Scholar. There's a IEEE tool that is also free for you that you can use. It's a for you to get citations. Um, they call it citationgeneration.com.
Mhm.
Citation generator. Yeah, basically, you click on it, you paste the website. Sorry, come in. come in. There's a problem with this. Let's try it one more time. All right. So you copy it here, you click on it, it gives you the citation straight up. And if you want to change your manner of citation, you can always change it here. So there are many tools for you to generate citations. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, that's amazing. In fact, like the number of tools you've given us just in today's session are really amazing tools and number. Okay, someone is already penning some of them in the chat. So if you have lost track already of the number of tools, just check the chat box so that you can find some of them there. Okay, someone is saying, okay, I think this question has been answered already in the chat, the meaning of hallucination in LLMs. But let me just add one more question to it. So okay, Folashawa is saying that, you said while during the session that while choosing a paper, we should verify the code, check if the code is available and all that. But she's saying that most papers don't open source code. So do you want to talk about that maybe in a minute?
Yeah, so I was actually meant to talk about this when I was presenting. So basically, if the paper is coming from industry, there's a high chance that you don't get the code for that particular paper. But if it's coming from from an academic institution or something like that, you'll mostly get a code for it. So also it depends on the kind of research you're trying to do. If you're doing research in some kind of core engineering thing, for example, you're doing chemical engineering, there's a very high chance that they won't allow you to release any resource related to that particular research. But when you're doing anything in AI, right now that we're actually in an open source society, most codes are actually open sourced. So if you find a paper without codes, without the codes, try to look. Okay, so there are other ways to verify that this paper is good. Look at the citation, for example. Look at the names of the authors and everything. One thing you can do in this particular case when you need the code is to reach out to the author of that particular paper for them to give you the code. And I'm very sure if they are not busy, they'll be happy to help out. Else, if you are unable to do that and that paper is meant to be a baseline, you can disregard it as your baseline and work on work with other baselines.
All right. I hope the question has been answered. Okay, so I can see one more question. Let me try to read this out. Okay, so someone is saying that that's Tony saying, really still want to know when one needs to stop reviewing papers. And you could be bold to say, oh, I've checked all the related papers. So how do you, maybe the question is, how do you know when,
Okay.
you've done it?
So the rule of thumb, according to, I'm trying to remember his name. I think his name is Olufade Williams. Yeah, in UI, Professor Olufade Williams. I think Olufade or Olufade. So he said, you know when to stop when you start seeing papers citing each other. So let's say you've actually read a lot of papers, and basically you start seeing a cycle of citations in those papers. That means you've actually covered everything you can cover in that particular domain. So you know when to stop when you start seeing citations of other papers you've actually read before. So you know that, okay, it's time for you to stop.
All right. So I think that's a really good rule of thumb, because I mean, if you're going in circles, then you're just like reshuffling,
Exactly.
the same ideas over and over again. Okay, so I would soon stop taking the Q&A, but let me still take some of them that are here. So there's Obina here saying, okay, thank you, Toluwani, for such an amazing session. Recently, most experts criticize emerging researchers about using AI to, dissect and understand papers. So I understand that these tools are productive, they make us productive rather, I know, but what would you suggest to new researchers trying to understand papers manually first before, using this tool? So do you suggest, I think that's a question, do you suggest that new researchers should try to learn it manually first, before going to use AI? So
Well,
just,
for the experts telling or criticizing new researchers about using AI. So there's this particular concept where people basically they try to bring down the value of something before they start jumping on it. When you cannot beat them, you join them. During the era of industrialization in the 1900s, when we started entering the era of industrialization, a lot of innovations were disregarded because why are you changing the current system? So this is basically people trying to as much as possible they're trying to push back on innovation because they are used to a particular system. For me personally, from my experience with using AI to actually fast track a lot of things, I would say go with AI first. You are basically in this particular situation, you are the supervisor. You are the one. So basically, you know how to read better than AI and everything. Let AI actually reduce everything for you. Reduce the timeline and everything. But you should still, like I said, trust but verify. So let AI do the work for you, but still verify if AI has done a good job every single time. So go with the automated version first. That actually reduces your time, and then the manual version can come next.
Mm. All right. Thank you so much for that point of view, Tolu. And okay, we still have a few more questions.
It's okay.
I will try to just take some. Okay. So there is Enoch asking, what if Okay. So I think this is a particularly popular case. If I'm dealing with a paper that doesn't give out the data set in the paper, how can the data set be gotten? I think I should combine this with another question asking if you can use simulated data for your research. So that's Obina saying, I'm trying to work on a project which will eventually lead to publishing a paper after the literature review. No data sets are available in that field. So is it possible to do this using simulated data, especially if you can't get the data at all from the lab?
So there's this emerging domain in AI that works with synthetic data sets. But it's okay if you can make use of simulated data as long as they are very close to the original. But remember, simulated means simulated and original means original. So you might want to like cut back on that. If you need real data sets, but you don't have access to any, but you know that they're actually data sets, you can try to work with the organization behind that data set for them to at least give you some of the data set for your work. That is better. That is much more better than just making use of synthetic data set for everything. But if you are sure that the synthetic data set closely mirrors whatever is happening in your real life, then yeah, go for it. By all means, go for it. And so the other question, if you're dealing with a paper that doesn't also give out the data set using the paper, uh, if you come across such papers that talk about a data set, but they didn't give out any detail about data set, then I think for sure that particular paper is not published. So you need to review the information about the data set, except um except the data set is not open source. If the data set is not open source, then you have to contact those people to give you access to the data set, which is still good enough. But if there's no information about data sets used, then that paper is definitely not published.
Hmm. All right. I think that is okay. There are still more questions coming in. Okay, maybe we take one more. Maybe we take one more. And okay, so someone is asking, and that's Farida. Okay, so that's Farida saying, do you state your data sets synthetic in the paper if you decide to use one? Because
Oh
you've just
yeah,
answered that question.
yes,
Synthetic
you have
data.
to state it. You have to state it so other people will be careful when they're trying to state, when they're trying to use a paper. Try to make sure like this is actually the point of science. This is the point of
Hmm.
research. Transparency. You have to be transparent with everything you've done in that particular paper. If you made use of a real world data set, talk about it. If you made use of okay, I mean when you look at a lot of scandals. Let me just use it, research scandals going on today, especially with OpenAI and the sorts. Sometimes you just go into, you use your tools, you generate something, and then you see that this particular thing you're generating closely mirrors something you've seen before in the real world. So you don't want to do that. You have to be transparent about where you got, or the source of
Definitely.
the data set and the method you're using.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. So thank you so much once again, Toluwani. I mean, for all the answers to these questions, and of course for an amazing session as well. Please, I mean, if you enjoyed Toluwani's session, please you can share your excitement in the chat. You can also send in reactions as well, and we'll be going to the breakout rooms very shortly. Okay. I think the attendance is also in the chat as well. So please, if you've not, done, filled out your attendance for today, please just do well to check out that link and fill it out. All right. So thank you once again. I mean, for coming around. I really love the session, Toluwani. Looking forward to, several other amazing sessions in the future. So please, if you want to connect to Toluwani, please, how best can they reach out? Is it through LinkedIn or Twitter, or what would you recommend as your best point of contact?
LinkedIn actually. It is funny, but yeah, I am actually I chat more on LinkedIn than any other one. But also you can reach out to me on Twitter. So LinkedIn and Twitter basically.
LinkedIn and Twitter. All right. Thank you so much once again. Okay, guys. All right. So we would now move on to the breakout rooms. Of course. Okay. So yes, please, if you want to just ask, full questions in the chat. His name is Toluwani Aremu. Toluwani, if you want to drop your LinkedIn handle in the chat as well, so that folks can, connect to you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to just allow access to microphones as I, spin up the breakout rooms. So of course, I would encourage you, if you join a breakout room, just try to introduce yourself. I know someone has said like there should be prompts, to help people or guide people, through the breakout session. So, introduce yourself, talk about. Okay, someone's asking for Twitter handle too. Yeah. So, introduce yourself, meet people, talk about what you do, your interest in research, AI, if you do CV or NLP or, RL as well, or several other, it could also be research around policy and data governance. Okay, so I will just give a few minutes so that you can, just get Toluwani's handle in the chat, and I will push you to breakout rooms very shortly. All right, so I'm going to send you to breakout rooms now. Okay, so when you get to the breakout rooms, please, interact, network, and make the most of the session. I've also extended the time to 20 minutes so that you have ample time to actually discuss, with people, get to meet them, get to know them, and yeah, we'll come back, to this main room after about give or take 20 minutes. Okay, so the rooms are now open. Okay, so let me just check out the rooms. The rooms are now open, so you should be going to your breakout rooms now. Okay, so if you have difficulties finding where the breakout room is, can just check out the meeting tools and you should see yourself being assigned to a breakout. Okay, I see some folks are still not joining the breakout room. It's totally fine if you want to stay in the main session, but then I would encourage you to, join the breakout. Okay, Femi Ojo, is there any challenge? I can see you're muted your mic. If you can't find the breakout room, you can let me know in the chat. I will try to help you get there. Let me check the chats. Okay. I think people are still slowly joining their breakouts. Okay, I see some folks have still not joined. Flourish your life. Yeah, you should be able to find the break. Oh, okay, you can't find the breakout room for that shower. Let me check you. So you should be able to see like, okay, can you hear me for that shower? You can let me know if you can hear me. I think you're allowed to unmute now, or you can even type in the chat too. So, but basically, if you find the bottom, I don't know if you're using a PC or a phone. So, like, you can find like meeting tools and then go to breakout. Yeah, so like meeting tools, then go to breakout. But of course, like also you should have actually gotten a prompt like saying join this breakout room. But if you didn't get that, just go to meeting tools. You see like this nice uh, like tool option at the bottom right of your system. And then you can just go to breakout and then you should be able to find your breakout room there. Let me check. Let me check you again. So for last shower, you should be in breakout room 14. So let me know if you still have problems getting there. I will reassign. Okay. Let me see who else. Ah, no one is saying anything in that room. Okay, I got you. Okay. All right. So please, I mean, start the conversation. Try to, ask questions. Get to maybe everybody's shy in the room, but of course, who they all left? Oh, okay. Unfortunately. Okay. I will see. Maybe it could also be network challenges as well. I will try to check your breakout room again. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so I'm probably going to update the breakout room now. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add. Can I think this is Rafiu. I can see you have issues with network, so it's fine. I will assign it to become. Ah, okay. Frontman says I'm the only one in room 16 as well. Okay, no problem. I can reassign you, frontman. Okay. Okay, someone is just joining. Folashewa, let me know if you are good now, or if you want me to reassign you. I'm happy to reassign you. Okay, so frontman, I'm going to work on reassigning you right now. Okay, so okay, no problem. Sure. The slides will be shared. Definitely. Okay. Trying to. Not in any room yet. Okay, no problem, no problem. I'm going to drop you in your room now. So I'm just moving people around and then I will drop you. Okay, so I'm moving you now, Blessing. Blessing Agbo, if you can hear me. I'm going to be in a room shortly, so I'm going to save this. Okay, Emmanuel Miracle, I see you're just joining. I can move you to a breakout room. Okay, still the same for that shower. Okay, I will reassign you. Okay, Isaac Ajayi. I'm going to assign you Isaac Ajayi shortly. Okay, so I think everybody should be reassigned. Let me work on for that show as well. tomorrow. I'm going to reassign you now. I see a lot of people are like dropping out joining in. I understand it's like network challenges. So for last shower, you should get another room now. Bye. Okay, so from my end, it looks like everybody has been assigned to a room. So if you're having difficulties accessing your breakout room, let me. Okay, hi Enoch.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so you have challenges joining your breakout room.
Um, yeah, I'm joining the call and I'm leaving. I don't know. Like I will join and leave and join and leave. And that's the challenge I'm having.
Okay, so are you saying you were unable to join your breakout room? Ah, okay. I think he has disappeared. Okay. All right. So if you want to go to another breakout room, you can also let me know in the chat. Maybe you're done in your breakout room, you want to join another one because there's still like 8 minutes, so you could potentially connect with other people. So if you want to go somewhere, just let me know. I'll take you there. Ah, Messi. Messi says she's the only one in her breakout room. Wow. Sorry about that. Let me check. Okay, Mercy, you're in breakout room 20. There are other people there. Let me just see. Maybe, yeah. There are actually other people in 23, but I think they are all disconnected. Like the people in your breakout room have network issues. Okay, so this is what I will do. I will close that breakout room. Okay, drop you guys somewhere. So Messi, I'll put you in another breakout room. Don't worry about that. Unfortunately, people in your breakout room all had network issues. So I'll put you in another one. Uh, let me also put Kafar. Okay, so Messi, you should be going now. Okay, so if you are just joining, we are currently in breakout rooms. I have assigned everyone to a breakout room. If you have issues due to network, you're back here, you can let me know. I'm happy to assign you to a breakout room. Okay, yeah, so there's just 5 minutes left for the breakout room. So please, if you really want to connect with people, amazing researchers within Nigeria or outside, you can let us know and be happy to do that. So breakouts are ending in 3 minutes. So yeah, you probably want to, join one. And if you still have challenges, join one. Let me know. Okay, so breakouts ends in 2 minutes. Okay, I see people are joining the main session back. So breakouts end in about a minute. Okay.
Ango?
All right. Yeah, welcome. All right, so we are just wrapping up. The breakout rooms are over now. I see people are actually joining the main call back. So thank you and welcome back. I'm hoping that today's breakout was more amazing, and I'm hoping that you. All right, all right. So I'm going to just take back my microphone now. But yeah, if you had like an amazing time, right, in the breakout rooms, you could, just share your excitement in the chat, do like thumbs up or. All right. Okay, so people are joining back. Oh, it was way better. Okay. So Yemi says it's always way better. All right. So please, 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 the attendance is in the chat. If you have not, signed the attendance, if you've not filled out the form, please do. We're just going to wrap up in about 5 minutes now so that we can go. Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah, I think some people are still joining the main room back. If you have questions, you can still put them in the chat. Okay. All right. So I'd like to wrap this up in a minute. Once again, if you have not filled out the attendance, please fill out the attendance. It's in the chat room. Okay. So yeah, someone is asking, why do we need to write the attendance? Okay. Yeah. So you probably missed the first housekeeping sessions. But essentially, there is a certificate of participation at the end of the program. So we require, you to attend the event at least 3 times. So we've been holding the event since, okay, let me see if I can show you in my slide. We have this is actually week 2, we are just joining in. So we still have 2 more to go, week 3, where we'll be bringing another amazing speaker. I'm sure you're going to see the person soon. So, you don't want to miss the session. And we'll have a panel session. Amazing sets of people are going to come, Q&A, ask questions, about research and how you can actually make the most of it. Okay, so yeah. So thank you once again. About LyngualLabs, you can follow us on social media. We do AI research, we curate speech data sets, and we have an academy as well. You can scan this QR code if you're interested in joining the academy or seeing, how you can graduate of courses. I also try to check the chat if okay, I see some people have their hands raised. Okay, so if you have any other extra questions, please feel free to reach out on the group on WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group as well. So if you sign the attendance form, you should be able to join the WhatsApp group. Okay, so much thanks to the organizing team as well. Myself, Ore, Kausa, who earlier moderated the session, Botemi, Williams. Okay, I see someone is speaking. Okay, so yeah. The meeting is recorded, so please be sure that you're going to get, you're going to get the meeting recording immediately after the session. Okay, so it's going to be uploaded to YouTube, so please feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, so I want to thank you. Sorry, if you're speaking, please. Let me just back my microphone from the person. Yeah, thank you. So I want to say a big thank you to our official sponsor, Lamfrica. Lamfrica organizes, it collocates, a body of data sets. So if you are looking for data sets across Africa, and the globe, data sets, language resources, language tools, you'll find them on Lamfrica. So you want to check them out, Lamfrica. So I want to say a big thank you to them as well for sponsoring this event. Okay, so that will be all for today. I hope you're able to meet people, network with people, and take the most of the session. So thank you so much once again for joining us in today's session. I promise you that next week is going to be super amazing as well. You don't want to miss it. And I hope you gain and learn something as well. So yes, feel free to reach out to us via email if you have challenges, whatsoever, with the session, with WhatsApp. Please feel free to. Okay, over to you, Kausa. I see your hands are raised as we wrap up.
Yes. Yes, just a reminder, we'll be having presentation for the fourth week. So if you're interested in presenting your paper or your work, I think this is like the best time for you to actually like start writing. Do we grab? So if we start writing from now till, let's say, like in 2 weeks time, we should be able to like present something. And from what Tuluane has already like shared with us, I feel like it's more of a good starting point if you don't really have like any idea on how to start. Tuluane already like gave us like a brief idea and also some tools he shared with us. So if you're interested in presenting, and we would love to, if you're interested, I think this is like the best time for you to like start writing, and we'll see how we can go from there. Basically, that's all I have from my end. And yes, we have gifts. Don't worry. Victor wants to share something for us.
All right, thank you so much, Kausa. So I will end it here. So once again, if you have, I hope you were able to enjoy the session. But of course, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out on the WhatsApp group or the community, or you can also as well reach out via email, and we'll be happy to take it from there. So thank you once again for joining, and have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.